Hello everyone, in this video we are going to discuss the game played between Magnus Carlsen versus Caruana Fabiano. But it's not a normal chess. We have the Freestyle Chess Grand Slam Tour 2025. It is kind of a new organization like FIDE, but there are some selected players that are only able to play this particular tournament, and these players are selected by the organization. So we have the game, and this we have the particular position on the board. It's going to be very much fun. The position is absolutely new. Yeah, you see the last rank pieces are all arranged differently. It is also known as the Fisher random, and yeah, that's how players play chess to get some creativity out of board. So yeah, so Fabi is playing with white, Magnus is playing black. So let's check it out. So Fabi with the white starts with 1d4, maybe because trying to open up the rook and also controlling the center. d5, knight to c3, b6. Maybe the idea is to simply develop the bishop, which makes sense. Short castle. Okay, so what is short castle? What happened over here? It looks crazy. Basically, it's same as short castle. You see, castle, castle, bishop f4. It looks like sort of a London system opening, but never mind. Bishop goes to a6, g3, trying to open up the light square bishop. c6, queen e2, knight d7, rook e1. You see now, Fabi has centralized all his pieces. e5. Magnus is like, okay, I'm attacking the bishop. If he takes, I'll take with the knight, and we have a fine position. But what he missed was a very strong move by Fabi. You guys can pause the video and try to find the best move played by Fabi in the position. Magnus missed it. e4. Wow. Basically, if you take the bishop, I'll take the pawn, attacking the queen. The queen is kind of trapped. You have to play knight d5. Knight e5. I'll take it, queen d7. I'll take this pawn as well. So I'm basically 2 pawns up with a completely winning position. Game is over. So Magnus realized, and he invested 2 minutes more, and he played the move c5, which is actually the best, trying to mix up the position a bit. And now Fabi played the move d cross e5. So the best move is already e d5, because if black takes the pawn, now you can play the move knight e2. If black takes the bishop, you can take the pawn attacking the queen, and you won't believe it, but after knight e5, which is the only move, gf4, the knight is trapped. Okay, we actually take the queen, takes, and basically in the end of the day, white is 2 pawns up with a completely winning position. So, okay, but instead Fabi played the move d cross e5, and now we have d4 by Magnus, pushing the pawn, attacking the knight. The knight jumped in the center via knight d5, knight cross e5, b4 by Fabi. So if black takes, you're going to definitely take the maybe even center pawn or just side pawn, capturing the center pawn next, and it is already just too much better for Fabi. Fabi is just playing some insane chess, putting pressure, trying to create weaknesses after takes, and eventually making a weakness. Even c3 can be an idea and just have a good position. We have knight c4 attacking the queen, the most natural move. Queen goes to e2. Now you cannot move the knight because the bishop would be hanging on e6 now. Rook into knight, sacrificing an exchange, trading off the queen. Knight goes to b2, attacking the rook. Not only the rook, but black is eventually going to win an exchange now. So basically, once again the material is even. d3, rook goes in. If white takes the pawn, black can play the move g6, opening up the bishop, and now taking can be an idea, but still this is already winning. d6, and white's position is just too healthy. That's the whole point. We have rook to e7, g5, attacking the bishop g5, basically sacrificing the pawn. So Magnus is more of giving up the material now to get some activity in exchange. If Magnus would have played g6, Fabi can push the pawn, Fabi can take the pawn, it's eventually winning. Instead we have g5, bishop g5, pawn takes, rook takes the pawn, b5, d6, knight goes, pawn push, knight goes back because the knight was hanging on a1, takes, and yeah, it looks crazy. Yeah, it looks crazy. Like black can take the pawn, bro, but nothing is happening. White is going to make the queen, and you're going to lose the game because the c1 square is already covered. That is why we had knight d7, takes, bishop over here, rook goes over here, and a check, and Magnus resign in only 25 moves. That's it, the game is over. You have to trade off the queen, you have to trade off the rooks, the pawn is dead, and Fabi is having an extra piece, and you can't believe that Fabi is going to miss this. So in only 25 moves, Magnus decided to resign the game, and Fabi won, which is already insane. How Fabi simply defeated Magnus in only 25 moves in freestyle chess. Like, Hikaru has already said in the past that you cannot beat Magnus in chess. That is the only reason players play some high theory lines against Magnus, because they don't really want to play chess against Magnus. But here we have Fabi simply outplaying Magnus Carlsen in only 25 moves and winning the game. So basically, by the end of the day 1, we have 2 players who are leading the tournament after 5 rounds. Fabiano Caruana and Javokhir Sindarov. These 2 are the players who are currently leading the tournament with 4.5 points out of 5. So yeah, this was the game played by Fabi versus Magnus. Now let's try to jump the game into Javokhir Sindarov versus Magnus Carlsen. So now discussing the game played between Magnus Carlsen versus Javokhir Sindarov. Magnus is playing with white, Javokhir is playing with black. And now let's try to look at the first position, the setup position. We have the rooks on a1 and f1, the bishop on b1 and c1, the knight on e1 and h1, the queen on g1, the king on d1. Okay, very interesting position. f3, maybe opening up the queen. f5, taking control. d4, pushing the pawn. Maybe the idea could be to play e4, having a nice center. Knight to d3, not doing it, but developing the knight. Knight f6, knight g3. Okay, first developing the knights. Knight g6, a4 by Magnus. Maybe there could be some ideas with bishop a2, or even expanding with a5, a6. a5, stopping it, and then e4. Finally, having some basic control in the center. Take, bishop a7. Maybe e5 is coming now, as you cannot take the pawn because the queen is hanging. So h3, e5, exactly as I said. Bishop goes to e3. Takes. And now Magnus is having an isolated pawn. Isolated e-pawn, or you can say the king pawn. Bishop goes to e6. We have short castle. This is a short castle, okay? Because the king goes over here. If you want to do a long castle, you have to move your bishop. The king goes over here, the rook goes over here. But we have a short castle, and the game is only going to get more fun now. Knight to d7. You see, the e5 square is the square where the knight belongs. So knight goes to f5, knight goes to e5, knight goes to f4 by Magnus. Bishop to c4, attacking the rook. Magnus moved the rook. g3, g6, attacking the knight. The knight goes back, attacking the bishop. Javokhir is like, I don't really care. If you want to take my bishop, you can. I'm going to push my pawn, attacking the knight. Magnus is like, okay, let me move my knight. We have a rook trade. We have a trade on d5, and now Magnus' pawn structure is at least better now. And the d6 square is the e6 square is a very weak square. But the problem here is white cannot really put his knight on e6. It's very hard. It's a long journey. At least 3 move journey is the requirement. So knight to c5, and you see these knights are much better than white's pieces. White king is much weak compared to the black king. Definitely Javokhir Sindarov is having a better position. Rook a3, Magnus trying to play some creative chess. Queen goes to g6, queen goes to d1, queen goes to e4. So Sindarov is simply centralizing his queen, his knights, and he's having a simply phenomenal position. c4. I don't really understand why Magnus went so much passive. I understand that he wants to play c3, open up the bishop. But bro, that's a very passive approach. You should at least try to first safeguard your king maybe. c4, check, and finally long castle. We have a long castle, okay? It looks like more of a short castle, but Believe me, it's a long castle. Bishop takes the pawn. Okay, Magnus is like, okay, checkmate happens. Checkmate happens. Let me first capture the pawn. Okay, now Sindarov is playing some brilliant chess, safeguarding his king, getting his rook now. I don't really understand why he did not put the rook over here. The bishop goes back. And can he push? Okay, it's not really working. It's not working, yeah. It's not the best way to play. Okay, so instead we have rook e8. And now knight goes to d3, okay. Basically, if you take with the bishop, that's exactly what happened. Takes, check. And at the first glance, it looks like a fine position for white. How in the world is this -5? Because black is having queen f2 with the idea of rook e1. You have to defend it with rook c1, but now we have g4. A brilliant move, I would say, g4. In the game, we had queen f1. First of all, if you take with the pawn, you're getting mated. You take with the queen, you are losing the knight. So Magnus played queen f1, but on knight d3. You have to take the knight, because if you take the queen, black is going to be a piece up. Takes, and now comes the finishing move, queen d4. And Magnus resigned. And Javokhir won. Why? King is trapped, the king can't move. And the idea is simply rook h1, rook h8, which is kind of a pre-move. You can't do anything and you're going to lose the queen, or else you're going to get mated. Or eventually you're going to get mated. The game is over. So that's how Javokhir Sindarov beat Magnus Carlsen with the black pieces in only 33 moves. So yeah, these were the two critical games where Fabi and Javokhir Sindarov, both the sole leaders, are beating Magnus Carlsen. So obviously, chess 960 is very unpredictable. It requires some creativity on the chessboard that will eventually make chess even more interesting. What are your thoughts about it? Let me know in the comments. About chess 960 freestyle chess, or you can say the Fischer random chess. So I hope that this video was entertaining and you must have fun and you must have learned something. If you did, then make sure to like, share and subscribe if you are new to our channel. I'm definitely going to come up with these more interesting videos like this. So till then, stay tuned and keep watching Oneshot Chess. Bye bye.